Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I thank the witness for appearing as well. Please allow me to ask a few questions about some of the circumstances that cause this condition to manifest itself. Is it true that between 2010 and 2016, the Budget Control Act caused cuts of about $1.6 billion in funding to housing?
I would have to check those numbers, but I know there were substantial cuts.
Does substantial mean more than $1 billion?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. And is it true that as a result of this, we're losing about 10,000 public housing units per year due to disrepair?
I'm not exactly sure of the number, but we are losing a good number of public housing units.
Is it fair to say that we're losing a good number because of disrepair?
We have not looked at what has been the cause of that, but I think that's a big cause in it.
That's a big cause.
Yes.
I'll accept that terminology. And is it true that, notwithstanding the lack of maintenance at these projects, that this level of disrepair, some of it associated with the big cuts, is something that we are seeing in many other housing projects across the country?
I'm not sure that we have looked at the connection there, but
is that a fair inference?
That could certainly be a fair inference.
The reason I brought this up is because I agree with what was said earlier, and I would even add more to it, and I'm going to circle around and come back to where I am now. But I agree that based on what was said about the employment discrimination, civil rights violations, the management was uncooperative, mismanagement, $400,000 in misuse of funds, misadministration of contracts, properties beyond rehabilitation, $720,000 in civil penalties, $188,000 in assessments based on false claims, and nepotism. All of that's bad. So we have that now to put aside. But circling back to where I was, I mention this because my dear friend made the comment that money wasn't the problem. And money is a problem. Let's move all of these issues aside. Money is still a problem, is it not?
I would say there are many contributing factors. Obviously,
would you say that money is one of the contributing factors?
There are resource issues, and
Can
money
we define
being one
resource as money?
Money would be one of the resource issues, but there are many contributing problems to the problem.
Yes, many, but what we don't want to do is minimize the impact of over $1 billion in cuts. We don't want to minimize the impact that $1 billion can have as resources on these projects. Is that a fair statement?
Money can definitely have an impact on these projects.
All right, well, listen, I do appreciate your appearing today, and I just want us to think about not only this laundry list that I've called to your attention, but also about what are we going to do to preserve housing for people who really need it in this country. And I see that you want to respond. I'll yield to you to respond, and I'll take about 15 seconds to wrap up. Go ahead, sir.
I will note as well that in the process of all of this time that ACHA has been on this downward spiral, a substantial amount of money has been spent, and wastefully spent, unfortunately, because the oversight was not there to do it.
Let's accept that, but before I lose my time, is it also true that there are other circumstances where properties are in disrepair due to a lack of funds?
Absolutely.
Okay. So we want to take care of this. And by the way, I think somebody should go to jail as well. But I also think that we have to look at these problems in a sober fashion when we are talking about the remedy. And I thank you for your testimony. I yield back.
The gentleman yields back.